Hello and thank you for joining me on this foodoffensive.com's weekly video update. If you regularly watch my videos, you'll know that I'm a little bit behind, a little bit overwhelmed by all the things I'm trying to cover, and I just want to make sure the info's there and make sure I get these out with at least the info quality there, and that the message gets across. So thank you for joining me on this weekly video update. Been covering, actually just started a new series on sweets and sweeteners. I'm just calling it Sweets for short. I did part 1 the last time I did this, and now I'm going on to part 2, and it's going to be a 3-part series on aspartame. Trying to keep these videos at 10 minutes or less, and then each video will have a particular subject, topic, etc., and all the supporting documentation, as you can see on the screen as I go through this. And I just wanted to bring to light some of the things concerning aspartame. And so moving right along into this week's video broadcast and video update concerning what's in our food is aspartame. This week will kind of be an intro, kind of a history of what aspartame is, how it came to be, how it came about, that type of thing. And I wanted to point out this week a couple of different information pieces, and then also a video clip from a documentary called Sweet Misery, A Poisoned World. I'll be referring to that video and documentary for a couple of times, at least with a couple of clips this week, and maybe on in the future, and maybe in part 3 of the aspartame section here of the series on sweets. So this week, aspartame, just an intro and history and background on it. I'll have an article here. If you've been looking at my website, been checking the video descriptions, the last several videos, almost a dozen videos, I haven't had any description built in because that does take time. Even though I have all the documents, I just need to go back and replenish all those. But I wanted to get out the videos as a first priority, so that's why I have not, maybe you're watching this video, you don't see a description down there yet, but usually I have all the links and articles either at the video description or on my website, foodoffensive.com. So feel free to look at the website, check back there, check back with this video too here on YouTube whenever possible to see if those links are there. But I'll try to zip all the documents up and put them in a zipped files for you to download as well, all the screenshots and things that I show you in this video. But the main thing is I've been showing a screenshot as I go here with these videos so that you can see it right now as well. I will have an article and document in there basically giving a rundown on the production process for aspartame, and put out by the CETUS Corporation. And then I won't run through all that and how aspartame is made right now, but I wanted to kind of look at how it kind of came about. So there's I'm looking at an article here at how products are made at Made How, and you'll be able to find this link on the website. I'll put it up on screen here as well here, but you can look at what I'm reading here, basically a background. There's a history of it, and that's what I really want to look at right now. Let's look at this real quick. I'm just going to pick a few pieces of this out to make sure I make it into my time limit here this time. But a brief history. It says humans have desired foods with a sweet taste for thousands of years. Ancient cave paintings at Arana in Spain show a Neolithic man taking honey from a wild bee's nest. It has been suggested that early humans might have used the sweet taste of foods to tell them which ones would be safe to eat. It is even thought that the desire for sweet taste might be an innate human trait. Unfortunately, many of the foods that are naturally sweet contain relatively large amounts of calories and carbohydrates. It goes on. Alternative sweeteners were developed to provide the sweet taste without the unnecessary calories. Also, they provide the additional benefits of enhancing the palatability of pharmaceuticals, aiding in the management of diabetes, and providing a cost-effective source where sugar is not available. The first one, saccharin, was discovered in 1879 and has been used in products such as toothpaste, mouthwash, and sugarless gum. And goes on to say the sugar-like taste of aspartame was discovered accidentally by James Schlatter an American drug researcher at G.D. Searle and Company in 1965. While working on an anti-ulcer drug, he inadvertently spilled some APM, aspartame, on his hand. Figuring that the material was not toxic, he went about his work without washing it off. He discovered aspartame's sweet taste when he licked his finger to pick up a piece of weighing paper. This initial breakthrough then led the company to screen hundreds of modified versions of aspartame. However, none of these materials offered all of the advantages found in the original compound, including economical manufacturing, excellent taste, quality, and potency, natural metabolic pathways for digestion, excellent stability, and very low toxicity. Consequently, the company pursued and was granted a United States patent and various international patents, and the initial discovery was commercialized. The U.S. patent expired in 1992, and the technology is now available to any company who wants to use it. Now, after many years of toxicity testing, the FDA initially approved aspartame's use as a sweetener in 1980. However, a hallmark of synthetic chemicals used in food products is that their safety is under constant scrutiny, and aspartame is no exception and has been surrounded by some controversy concerning its safety since its introduction. And he goes on to say that most of these were put to rest in 1984, when after investigating various aspartame-related complaints, the FDA and the Center for Disease Control concluded that the substance is safe and does not represent a widespread health risk. And then it goes on to say that that was supported by the American Medical Association in 1985, and it has been gaining market shares ever since. And it's also, in addition to the U.S., it's also been approved by over 93 foreign countries. So it's been marketed, and it's been under names like NutraSweet, Equal, and currently NutraSweet is a very popular ingredient in more than 4,000 products. So that's it's quite a bit of products. And also it says in the U.S. alone, NutraSweet sales topped $705 million in 1993, according to the company. That's a lot of money around this sweetener. So it should be under scrutiny, because there's other research that has showed that it is not safe. And that's what I want to point out right now in this clip that I referred to from Sweet Misery, the documentary by Russell Blaylock. He's talking about the deception and fraud in research concerning this product. So when they go on to say that, after years of testing that FDA approved it, and then after saying that most of those concerns that people had were laid to rest when after investigating aspartame. Well, the problem is when there's fraud in research and manipulation in the research, obviously how can you trust that so-called research and testing that's saying that it's safe? So let's look at those clips right now, and then we'll come back and finish up here.
G.D. Searle Company, in the quest to get approval for their product, aspartame, they conducted a study on animals in which they fed some animals, like I said, low dose, medium dose, high dose of the product, and then they used control animals that supposedly did not get any of the product. When they submitted this to the FDA and the FDA looked at it, there was some question about the study. Well, one of the scientists, a neuroscientist, looked at some of this, and he saw a lot of red flags. He said there's some real questions here about tumors being caused by this product, particularly brain tumors. So they ordered a study to be done by the Bureau of Foods, which was the precursor to the FDA. And Dr. Jerome Bressler was in charge of this group to look through the research that had been done by G.D. Searle, and that's what the Bressler reported about. And this is the report here. What they did is the animals that died after being fed NutraSweet, they didn't autopsy the animals right away. Some of them were not autopsied more than a year afterwards. And of course the tissues broke down and liquefied, and so they couldn't do proper studies on them, but they reported it as if they had, and they reported these as normal. They found that they were taking tumors and cutting them out and throwing them away and saying the animal was normal. They had animal tissues that had obvious tumors in it that were reported normal. They had, in one of the cases here that's reported, a lymph node that was enlarged. And this GD Searle pathologist reported it as a normal lymph node. When the scientists from the Bureau of Foods looked at it, they said it was an obvious lymphosarcoma, a highly malignant tumor. The notations about the testicular atrophy were not noted. There were just numerous things in this report that showed that, in my estimation, there was an effort to cover up what was being found so that they could get approval. They knew that this product, aspartame, with time breaks down into a product called diketopiperazine. Diketopiperazine chemically is closely related to a carcinogenic compound that causes cancer in a lot of animals if they're exposed to it, and humans. So they asked the GD Searle company to do a separate study with the diketopiperazine. Well, when they looked at this study, they found some shenanigans as well. And one of the things is when you mix up the diketopiperazine with the animal's food, you have to homogenize it so that it's evenly distributed and the animal can't see it and avoid it. Well, I've seen pictures of the feed, and they left it in big clumps so the rats were eating around it, not actually eating the diketopiperazine. There was also evidence that they were giving the diketopiperazine to the control animals. And of course this came out because in the original study they found a 47-fold increase in brain tumors. In the diketopiperazine repeat study, they said, oh, well look, the control animals and the aspartame-fed animals have the same incidence of brain tumors. Well, when the neuropathologist looked at it, said, well, that's kind of strange because now your control animals have a very high incidence of brain tumors that's not naturally found in these mice. And then when they looked at the feed, they found out there were some mix-ups of the feed so that the diketopiperazine was being fed to the control animals. These are the sort of things that's in the Bressler report that the makers of NutraSweet would not like the public to know about, because it's very frightening. You know, when the pathologist, Dr. Adrian Gross, looked at the material as well, very well-regarded pathologist, and he looked at it and he was absolutely shocked. He said it's just an enormous increase in tumors, particularly the brain tumors. And of course that's exactly what we're seeing now, is this tremendous increase in brain tumors in this country, which is completely unexplained by the neurological profession.
Okay, so you can see there, after a couple of examples he's given in that video about the fraud and deception in the research, we can have every right to question whether this product is safe and whether we should be consuming it. And you can watch that whole documentary, and it really does. It is a really wide, eye-opening about the concerns and legitimacy of using aspartame as a sweetener. Now, this article goes on to talk about the raw materials. It says aspartame is primarily derived from compounds called amino acids. These are chemicals which are used by plants and animals to create proteins that are essential for life. And of the 20 naturally occurring amino acids, 2 of them, aspartic acid and phenylalanine, are used in the manufacturing of aspartame. So I think in a way, it's kind of saying that it's a natural thing because it's using 2 naturally occurring amino acids. Well, we're going to go on to look later on as we move on here in the following weeks to talk about this and how it's made and how it truly is made and what's really in it and why we should be concerned. And there's also, from the Organic Consumers Association, there's an article that they put out called How Aspartame Became Legal, the timeline. And this is from back in December of 2002, so it's quite old, but like I said, I've had to dig through and try to find all the necessary documentation for what I'm presenting here, and this basically just breaks it down again a little bit with the same thing concerning how it was discovered, but I wanted to look here at the timeline. I'm not going to go through each year and everything, but just to show you this article that you can look at it for yourself, kind of the process. And then again in that video it does talk about how certain key points in which it was pushed through and who was involved in that. So This article says, in 1985, Monsanto purchased GD Searle, the chemical company that held the patent to aspartame, the active ingredient in NutraSweet. Monsanto was apparently untroubled by aspartame's clouded past, including a 1980 FDA Board of Inquiry comprised of 3 independent scientists which confirmed that it, quote, might induce brain tumors. Well, Monsanto, look at who we're dealing with here. I've gone into length in this company in my videos talking about why they don't care about the health of us and the products that they're making, endangering us by eating them. So go to right there, the source of this company that's actually selling the stuff. It goes on to say the FDA had actually banned aspartame based on its findings, only to have Searle chairman Donald Rumsfeld, of all people, he's currently the Secretary of Defense, that was back in 2002, vow to, quote, call in his markers to get it approved. Well, it all goes back to who you have friends in the government and in the FDA. Monsanto knows well how to get things approved. On January 21st, 1981, the day after Ronald Reagan's inauguration, Searle reapplied to the FDA for approval to use aspartame in food sweetener, and Reagan's new FDA Commissioner, Arthur Hayes Hull Jr., appointed a 5-person scientific commission to review the Board of Inquiry's decision. It soon became clear that the panel would uphold the ban by a 3-2 decision, but Hull then installed a 6th member on the commission, and the vote became deadlocked. He then personally broke the tie in aspartame's favor. Hull later left the FDA under allegations of impropriety, served briefly as provost at New York Medical College, and then took a position with Burstyn Marsteller, the chief public relations firm for both Monsanto and GD Searle. Since that time, he has never spoken publicly about aspartame. So you can see there what this is all about, and I'm going to finish there. It goes into, as you saw in the video, and as you can see more if you want to look at the documentary, how things work, how they know how to get things into action, and then after they get this stuff approved, and they automatically get nice little cushy jobs at the same companies in which they voted for. So quite convenient if you ask me, and that's just a tip of the iceberg as we get into aspartame and what it causes. But until next time, this has been foodoffensive.com's weekly video update. Thank you for joining me.